On Saturday the 31st of May, Turn Left attended the Media Democracy Festival, taking place at the University of Westminster in central London. The annual festival, which is organised by the Media Reform Coalition, was this year bookended with keynote speeches from journalist and broadcaster Sangeeta Maiska and Deputy Leader and leadership hopeful of the Green Party, Zach Polanski. The event brought together academics, activists and decision makers to better understand what's going on in today's media landscape, to build connections, and to strengthen the movement for a different media. Over the course of the day, I caught up with some of those in attendance to hear their thoughts on the event and the wider need for independent media.
I've come over from Dublin for this today because I think it's really, really important to hear from not only academics who are usually at the kind of media conferences that I go to, but really hearing from those people who are actually not just directly affected by media and the organisation and regulation of the media, but also really interested in getting involved in shaping how we engage with media and shaping how the media covers what we do in the world as well.
I've come here to learn about storytelling and actually starting to create change through direct action.
I think especially as a person of colour, there's not enough people who take the time to learn more. So this was an opportunity for me to learn more about how the media industry works and what can be done to keep certain people in check.
My name's Casper Hughes, and there's two groups that I'm representing here today. One is the Climate Media Coalition, and the other is I'm a founder of Media Revolution.
I came to the Media Democracy Festival because I believe that the media is the last veil between old, archaic, empirical power and the public, or citizens being free, liberated and prosperous.
I am old enough to remember the times when in Eastern Europe we had a system of information that have been controlled by the authoritarian Communist Party. And ever since COVID, I have been very worried that we are losing the ability of independent voices.
I'm Liz Pendleton, and I'm here today because I've been an activist for several years. I helped to coordinate some of the largest marches with the Extinction Rebellion, the big one, Restore Nature Now, and I saw firsthand how the media are ignoring that, and so as an activist, I'm looking at the media from an activist lens, going, this is a problem, and there are lots of responses to the problem of the media.
I'm Hardeep Matharu. I'm the editor-in-chief of Byline Times, which was set up 6 years ago. It is a free daily news site and a monthly print newspaper which is focused on reporting on what the papers don't say. And I'm at the Media Democracy Festival today because I'll be talking on a panel about who owns the media, which I think continues to be a really interesting question and one that we need to keep interrogating.
I'm Mercedes. I am here with News Club, who are hosting and doing one of the workshop sessions today. We're also here to kind of promote a lot of the work that we do around media and recentering our focus from not just talking about it and hearing about it, but actually doing something about it.
So hi, my name is Santiago Bracho, and I work as a programmer and researcher for Media Diversity Institute. So we had executive director as one of the panelists for one of the many events, and I was going to come here anyway because one of the events has one of a journalist that I follow very closely, James Bloodworth. So both those together, that's why I really wanted to be here.
I'm starting to work on a documentary at the moment, and I think I've realised that now I want to focus tell the entire story through people's lived experiences rather than one-to-one interviews or all of that. Just now actually getting people to have conversations together and creating a story through those moments. Yeah.
So my name is Amy Hall, and I'm a co-editor at New Internationalist magazine, and I'm here today to talk about media coverage of war. Media coverage of war is a topic that we could talk about for hours, and there was so much to say, but it was a really interesting panel. It was really great to hear from Krishna, who worked at the BBC from an internal perspective, Mark Curtis from Declassified UK, who's talking a lot about independent media and the importance of supporting independent media. And so many different things came up, why is the coverage of war and conflict so bad? A lot of it is to do with the media kind of backing up our government's policy. But it was really great to hear people talking about independent media, why it's so important and why we need to support it.
How important is the role of independent media in a functioning democracy?
independent media is fundamental. I mean, media that is truthful, media that is factual. And in order for that to happen, it needs to be well regulated. And the media that is regulated by Impress is all of those things, and it is hugely important in a democracy. Unfortunately, our democracy has been corrupted by media that is regulated by Ofcom and IPSO, and they are not quite so fact-based as we would like. We're very much in a post-truth age now, and we've been ushered into that age actually by the legacy media in this country particularly, and until we tackle with the legacy media and social media in the modern parlance, then I think we're going to be heading towards cultural collapse far faster.
Yeah, it is democracy. There's no distinction. Like you need independent media, and I'm going to be honest, you need, more important than anything is people with the thirst to wanting to know and the thirst of wanting to search, so, and that's everyone here basically, because we will, there's like 100 issues regarding censorship, lack of regulation, over-regulation, like we can debate about that, but we need to have that debate, because just turning on your phone and seeing the first notification on Twitter or Facebook is not enough. You gotta look at the information is available. You have to find it. So I think that's why independent media is democracy. If we don't, as the citizens, if we don't take that step, there's no democracy.
It'd be unrealistic for me to go to sleep every night thinking I can impact the political situation in Westminster every day. I mean, I'd be, crying every night to sleep if I thought that was my goal. But if the goal is to make more people aware, give more people thought-provoking journalism and investigations that can inform how they see what is going on around them, then, they might spread that word. And I think that incremental approach of identifying your sphere of influence and being really passionate about engaging with that sphere of influence is what we can do. It keeps us back from cynicism and fatalism, because at moments like this, when it does feel like everything is chaotic and concerning, we do need to hold on to the concept of things can and do get better.
We can't solve problems we're not allowed to see, and the more widely we can spread good information and inform the public, the better decisions we can make as a collective. And of course, big, powerful interests are extremely interested in controlling what we see and perceive. Of course they are. It'd be very naive to think they weren't, and it'd be very stupid and lazy of them not to try and control all of the central sources of that information, whether it be The Guardian, the BBC, New York Times, or Facebook. They would be foolish not to try and infiltrate and control those outlets. It's not to say that that's the only reason why centralized media doesn't work, but it is one thing it's vulnerable to.
When Solidarity in Poland broke out, it was after a couple of years where students, me including, were actually doing the colportation of small pieces of paper that we photocopied on the illegal machines and were able to distribute. So independence can start from a very small base.
I've been to a lot of conferences and talks and panels, discussions where we talk about how the media is a problem and in what type. Is it ownership? Is it regulation? Is it its operational model? Like what parts of the media can we look at that we can change? And personally, I think that every discussion ends in a similar sort of, well, this one's better than that one. No, this one's got to be better because it's quicker, or it's different kind of, it's a disaster of wasting our time. And so for me, it's about how do we find our overlaps? How do we find the bits where we can work together? How do we say, yes, if you're going to replace the media, it has to be with something that's got a good ownership model or a good regulation model? What does that look like when we all take all of those different responses and coordinate them into something which I'm trying to call a media revolution? I'm not going to lie, it's ambitious, but it's intentionally ambitious because we are running out of time.
Taking a step back and thinking about all the NGOs and organisations and campaign groups in the country, there isn't one of them that isn't affected by the media in some way. And a lot of them that are after creating a more peaceful world are affected in a negative way by the media. And if we can get all of those campaign groups to focus on the media and start to target the media on specific days with actions of their choice, then we could make a really significant impact into the media systems globally.
I think what's really stood out for me in the sessions, and particularly from this morning's one on big tech and AI, I think it was the calibre of the questions that were asked by the audience. And I think all of the audience who asked questions were non-academics, and they were involved in different ways, whether journalists or interested citizens, as they call themselves. And just seeing the deep level of interest and engagement that the public has for events like this is really heartwarming.
If you're really, really interested in actually being like, okay, cool, like I want to organize, want to do something, then we also have Rebel Citizens, which is also part of the extended News Club family. They focus more on helping directly your organizing, your activism. So we have an additional, which again, you can find it with our existing podcast as bonus episodes. These Ask Me Anythings, where activists, organizers, people that are doing anything and trying to, make change, they are able to send in their questions, and basically our collective knowledge of in the experience of activism organizing, we're able to give a little bit more advice or answers to your questions basically. And then the Rebel Citizens team directly are there able also to have one-to-ones, have sessions, have a bit more structure, especially if that's what you need and get involved with actually doing stuff.
Throughout the day, we at Turn Left hosted 2 live streams, which are available to watch back now, as well as filming a handful of pre-recorded interviews with guest speakers from the festival. I'm Callum Taylor, reporting for Turn Left.